vibes. And please allow me to start the video by thanking our new subscribers and our returning subscribers. We value you, we appreciate you, we do not take you for granted, because actually this far we have gone. You are the reason, and therefore we appreciate you so much, and we pray that you be blessed. To the keyboard reactors, to those that like our videos, we really appreciate and we value you so much. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly hit that subscription button. It is free of charge and make us to reach 5,000 subscribers, and we are going to appreciate. If you have already subscribed, why not hit that like button? Just like the video so that it can be put in the YouTube algorithms, so that we can actually have many viewers viewing our video. Today's story is a very tragic story. It is so sad that when I was watching this story, I actually asked myself so many questions, like what happened? What made this person to be who she became? What led the person to be who she was? I am talking about a very tragic story in Jamaica. It is about a very young woman, very beautiful, and I'm sure by the time I'm talking this way, you are watching at her photo, and you can agree with me. She's a very beautiful woman, very pretty, and no one can imagine that this girl or this woman can become a criminal. She looks very innocent, she looks very composed, very humble, a very well made by God, well created by God girl, and therefore we cannot imagine, or rather I could not imagine, what I watched about this woman. The story of this woman is a sad story to every parent that listens to this story. Because all of us as parents, we expect, or rather our hope and our belief and our faith is to bring up children who are responsible, who can do exploits on earth, who will be blessed and enlarge in whatever they do. And when a child turns to be a criminal, then every parent is filled with remorse, is filled with sadness, is filled with tears every day of their life. And therefore, that is why this story was too sad for me. And as I was shooting it, I could not understand what led to this woman being who she became. We are always told we are the product of the environment we are brought in. Some may say maybe the children of the parents of this girl failed. But I want to tell you, it is the prayer and the wish of every parent to have a nice child who actually will succeed in life. And therefore, I do not blame the parents, I do not blame anyone, but I think the environment we are brought in really dictates who we are going to be in the society. And that is why, as parents, we are called to pray for our children, to commit our children to God, because it's only God who can actually direct the steps of our children. So it was a very sad story to me, and I pray every parent that is watching me, your child shall be successful in the land of the living, they shall do exploits, and they shall be the most well-behaved children on earth. Because that is the wish and the prayer of every parent. The girl you are watching, this beautiful woman you are watching, her name is Tony Ann Reid. She is a Jamaican, or she is, let me talk about, she is a Jamaican. Tony Ann is a young woman who was born in Jamaica. Her nickname was Two Fry. And the first time you meet this woman on the streets of Trenchtown or Kingston or Montego Bay or St. James, you would think she's the most beautiful woman on earth, because she is. You cannot believe what this woman has done. The woman you're watching right now was the most murderous female thug in Jamaica. Can you believe it? That this woman has committed a lot of murder in her lifetime. And I want to say, it was very, very sad to me when I looked at this woman and actually saw the story about her. The woman you are just watching is the most cold heart woman on earth. She committed a lot of murder and without remorse. It is so unfortunate, and like I had said earlier, I kept on asking myself, who failed? Who failed in the upbringing of this woman? What happened in her upbringing to make her be who she became? It was very, very sad to me. Tony Ann Reid joined a gang of murderers and committed her first murder at the age of 15. At the age of 15, all of us are very young. I tend to think at the age of 15, we don't understand life and what it entails. We are confused a lot at that age of 15. And I want to believe this young woman, Tony Ann Reid, joined the gang below 15 years, and therefore she could not understand what she was getting herself into. And that is why I had said earlier, as parents, we are supposed to actually pray for our children, because we don't know who they meet. Because in Kenya here, at the age of 15, one is at Form 1. And being in Form 1, because I teach them, this child has not understood a lot of things. It is still a too young age to understand the value of life and the importance of life. And maybe her first murder case, she could not understand what she was doing. It was just carried by the gang and the emotions and maybe drugs. And therefore, Tony Ann Reid committed her first murder at the age of 15. Very, very sad. And it was sad. It was very sad to me. Because I can imagine a Form 1 student committing murder. I wonder whether she knew what she was doing. Because after that first murder, I think one becomes bloodthirsty, because we always hear when you commit the first murder, you have no conscience and you can commit so many other murders. And that is what happened to Tony Ann Reid. So after committing that first murder, and actually I'll take you through how it happened. After committing that first murder, this woman continued to commit many other murders without remorse, without turning back. And I want to believe that all of us who are watching this video, we are asking ourselves, where were the parents when she was joining this gang? At 15, it is a very, very young age for a person to be involved in a murder case. And I want to believe this woman was too young to actually understand what she was getting herself into. And I will say again, it is very, very important for parents to watch the kind of friend their children are getting getting involved in, and also you pray for them. Because I'm sure Tony Ann was actually initiated into crime by the gang because she was available for them and she was vulnerable to them. And I want to say, how was this woman initiated to join the gang? It is said that the first time she joined the gang, she was actually taken to rule a young man to join the gang. At that young age, she was used by the 6th gang, this is the gang she was in, so that she can actually rule somebody to join the gang. This girl, I believe she's a daughter to someone, a sister to someone, a niece to someone, and a relative to someone. And it is like she was so bloodthirsty when she was committing this murder. And like I said earlier, she was initiated by first taken to rule a person to join the gang. She got initiated when she was still in school. And I want to believe maybe the people who got her into this gang were her classmates or her schoolmates or people who are very close to her. And that is why I started by saying the environment actually dictates who we are going to be. Her part of initiation or her part of condition to join the gang was to rule a young man to join the gang. The young man was Carlton Davis. That is the young man Tony Ann was supposed to rule to join the gang. His nickname was Zaza. Zaza had gone to America, and I think then he came back to Jamaica. I didn't understand that very well. And therefore, Tony Ann was sent by the gang to rule this young man. And therefore, she pretended to date the young man, and she actually ruled this young man to come and join her for a date. And when they went for a date, it's like there was a car waiting for them. And therefore, Tony Ann, I don't know what happened in between, but she made this young man to join her and go to the car, and that is how Carlton Davis was actually made to join the gang. His name, you can see his photo, and he looks very, very young. At the time he was ruled by Tony Ann Reid to join the gang. So that was part of the initiation of Tony Ann to the gang. So she was actually supposed to make this young man join the gang, which she actually succeeded. And therefore the young man joined the gang and became part of the gang. In this photo you can see she's holding 2 guns. So she had actually become part of the gang, and she was used now to killing. And you can see in the photo she's wearing gray and pink, and she's holding 2 guns. So already now she has become a criminal and part of this 6 gang, and she's already committing the murders at this stage. So Tony Ann ruled Carlton Davis to join the gang, and Zaza, his nickname, joined the gang. At one time, she was actually the amateur of the 6 gang. She was the one who was in the custodian of keeping the gangs. And therefore, she was somebody in this gang. She was a huge person in this gang, and she was supposed to take care and supervise the gangs that were with this 6 gang group. She's the perpetrator and organizer of the murders. She was actually the perpetrator and the organizer of every murder they were supposed to commit. You can see how bloodthirsty Tony Ann was. And that is why I asked myself, what happened along the way in the upbringing of this woman. So, by the time she's appointed, the perpetrator and the organizer of the murder cases they are supposed to handle, she's already bloodthirsty and very cold-hearted. So she became such a big person in the 6 gang group, and she was actually the custodian of the amateur, the gangs they were supposed to have. So guys, Tony Ann's first murder case was done in August 2016 in Gloucester Avenue in Montego Bay. In this murder case, there was a Toyota Mark X car that was parked along the road. And the occupant of this car were the interest, or rather they were the people that Tony Ann and her gang wanted to kill. And therefore, they shot at the occupant of the car, killing 2 people. They were after a fellow gang man, but unfortunately, he was not in this car, and therefore they killed innocent people, 2 of them. This is the murder she committed when she was 15 years. So at 15 years, this woman has already killed 2 innocent people because she thought it was the person they were interested with who was actually supposed to be a person from another gang. Unfortunately, they killed 2 innocent people. That was not enough. Still in the same year, February 2016, this was August 2016. So in 2016, I can't remember the month, she and 2 other men in St. James, in a retro bar, they entered the bar and started spreading bullets to people that were inside the bar. You can imagine people just entering the bar and start shooting to people that were just inside the bar. These are cold blood murders. They just shot at the people that were inside the bar. And therefore they killed an 18-year-old bar attendant and 2 other people. The 2 other people, one was called Adro Balex and the other one was Alfonso. They killed Alfonso, who was in another gang. So actually, most of the times, Tony Ann and the gang were killing their fellow gang men. Maybe they had collided with these people somewhere and therefore they could target them and kill them. So the person who made the others to be killed was actually Alfonso. He is the person they were targeting at this murder case that was done in a retro bar in St. James. The other murder case, the one I featured before, it was done in Montego Bay and they were actually targeting another gang member who was not in the car at the moment, and they ended up killing innocent people. And therefore Alfonso died in this shooting together with another person who was Andrew Barrett. So they killed 2 people in this shootout. Still, this woman continued killing. And he killed another guy in Montego Bay, and his name was Omar Ruiz. Omar Ruiz, I'm going to put all these photos as I talk to you about the killings of Tony Ann. So Omar Ruiz was actually a notorious gangster in Montego Bay. He had actually been wanted by the police. He had killed many people in the area of St. James, but could not be imprisoned because there was no one to file a report about his killings and also to testify against his killings. So he could go killing people and no one could actually accuse him for the murder cases. So he was called Omar Ruiz. And therefore, case that she actually committed herself. So she shot at Omar Ruiz 5 to 6 times until she made sure that this guy was dead. This is already a bloodthirsty woman. Because for you to shoot bullets, 5 to 6 bullets at someone, you are very, very determined that this person will not live again. And therefore, she killed Omar Ruiz in Montego Bay. The other culprit of this gang of Tony Ann and herself was in September 21st, 2021, still in Montego Bay in a bar. I think this woman was actually doing her murder cases around Montego Bay and St. James, because most of these people that were killed in Montego Bay and St. James. And therefore, in this date, 21st September 2021, in Montego Bay, 2 cousins were actually walking along the road. And a car stopped and actually shoot at them, killing them. The 2 cousins were Carl Montague and Carl Domingue. They were killed, both of them, in broad daylight. A car drove by them. It was actually being driven by Tony Ann, and she stopped the car and came out and fired at these 2 cousins, and it is said 3 people were shot in the car, but 2 died, and 1 went to hospital, and it is not known whether this person survived. So this is another murder case that was committed by Tony Ann. She was thirsty for people's blood. She could kill without remorse. She could kill without regret. She had gotten used to killing people. And therefore, every time she held the gun, she could kill people. Some of the people are criminals, but you are not allowed to kill people. However they are, it's like Tony Ann had actually a very, very cold heart. The other murder cases were February 11, 2019. Tony Ann and her gang killed this man who was called Nigel Massol. Nigel Massol was killed in Montego Bay. He was standing, and a man came across him and shot him to death. And the man, of course, was believed to be one of Tony Ann's gang member. So they just killed Nigel Michel and they killed him in cold blood. He was killed because he went to a beauty parlor and killed one of Tony Ann's gang member. So they were actually revenge murders. She could actually revenge to anyone who interfered with her gang. So they killed this guy because of that. The same time, in 9th October 2021, still in Montego Bay, at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, Tony Ann and 4 others trailed another Toyota Corolla. There was an exchange of firearms. This was the most dramatic murder case of Tony Ann. So these 2 vehicles were exchanging gunshots. They were shooting at each other. And therefore, there was an exchange of firearms, and the Toyota car, it's like it was stopped by Tony Ann. And she came out together with her gang members and sprayed bullets on one of the car, the Toyota Corolla. And 3 people died on the spot. And these 3 people were actually Robert Hedry, Rion Brown, and Rashad Watson. The 3 of them died on the spot. There was also an 11-year-old girl who was seriously injured. It's not known whether this 11-year-old girl died as she was in the hospital. So you can imagine the many murder cases this woman committed. She committed so many murder cases. It is said also a Toyota Axion drove at the party and bullets were spread in the party, and this is where Tony Ann met her death. So there was a car, a Toyota Axion. I think because of the many murder cases she was committing, she created a lot of enemies along the way. And therefore, there was this Toyota Axion that drove to a party where Tony Ann and the rest of the gang were. And the people who were in the car just sprayed bullets to everyone who was in that party. And this is where Tony Ann met her death. She died at this shooting in the party. It was very unfortunate to lose such a young woman. Though she had committed a lot of murder, I believe that maybe somewhere along the way she would have regretted her actions and actually repented. Because it is so unfortunate for a young woman to die at a very young age. There is a story that Tony Ann had a child. And I want to believe most of the children ran from what they see the people surround them doing. They are people who are brought up by criminals and they get to hate being a criminal so much. There are people that are brought up by smokers and they hate smoking. There are people that are brought up by drunkards and they hate drinking. There are people that hate what the people that were surrounding them were doing. And therefore, a child brought by such a murderous woman can actually hate anything to do with gangs, anything to do with crime, and become a very good child. Where I was watching this video, the person who was actually featuring the story was actually saying the police should take care of that child because being born by Tony Ann, who was a gangster, and the father was also a gangster, most likely DNA and a lot of stuff is likely to happen that the child will be a criminal. That does not happen. Most of the times, the children that are born by such parents actually change a lot. This child has seen the mother and how the mother faced her death. That can actually change the child to be a very good child. And I pray that this child, because I understand, now she could be about 19 years old. I hope that this child learned from the mistakes of the mother to be the best of a child she could be. And therefore, guys, this is the saddest story I've ever shot about a woman who was so beautiful and ended up dying because of joining a crime gang. And I hope that our children can go to the right direction, to the right path, and just like I said earlier, it's good to know who walks with your child, whom do they relate with, whom do they form company with. And of course, we pray for your child, and we hope that they'll be the best in the society. That is the end of the video. Bye-bye. See you during the next video, and God bless. Subscribe and like the video, and we are going to appreciate. Ciao.